put the link out there. Hopefully you got the link. If you wanted to use Hangouts, it's available. Today, going to be discussing one of the enemy's ways of destroying us that he's using most effectively in verse history. And I'm going to illustrate it by my testimony that happened this week. I had some interesting events transpired this week. One day soon, hopefully, I'm going to be putting on Facebook some pictures. On my way to work every morning when I go to work, if I don't drive in, but even when I drive in, it's the same, but especially when I take the train, and the subway train into work in the morning. And I get off the subway train and I have to walk maybe 10 to 12 minutes to work. On my way to work every morning, there are many people sleeping on the street. And I mean, literally stretched out on the street. They're homeless. Some of them are sleeping on the part of the subway where the heat comes up, at night from the trains, like the crate part, and they sleep over that. And sometimes they're sleeping straight up on the sidewalk. I've seen a man sleep on the sidewalk with a brick literally as his pillow. I saw people laid out, and sometimes they're older people. Some people look like they're in their 60s, and there's some that are young. People look like they're in their teens, everything in between. And they're laid out all over the street. I mean, it's really hard for me to walk by them every day and see them because it's just hard to see. And mostly they're black people. You do see some white people, but the vast majority are black people. And that's when I walk in from taking the subway. When I drive in, I come through a tunnel to get into Washington, D.C. I come through a couple of tunnels, but I get one last tunnel before I get off in the area of Washington, D.C. when I work. And when I come out that tunnel, I'm on a street, and on the left side of the street, there's a large fence. Like the fence is maybe 7 feet high, and there's buildings on the right side. And people have their clothes hanging up on the fence because they've slept outside next to the fence. And they have chairs, there's fold-up chairs all over the place where people have slept outside. And you can see them. You can see them out there. Again, they're vast majority of them black people. And they're outside. And then often I walk by and I've taken pictures of them. Sometimes I give them some money and ask, can I take your picture? Sometimes I just take a picture because they're so out of it. They don't know anything that's going on around them. And I take their picture. Some of them have made up little houses out of cardboard, to keep them from the rain. Because some days it's raining, they're still out there. It doesn't matter. Some of them have actually gotten tents. I've seen a couple of them of the homeless have tents. And they set up tents and they set it up under one of the overhangs of the building. And they're sleeping. And I can tell some of them, at least, not all of them, I can't tell about most of them, but some of them definitely are on heroin because you can tell by how they're sleeping and how they are. They're kind of like sleeping, but they're kind of sitting there and their eyes are half open. And they look like they've been using heroin. And you can see that no matter what time of the day you come out. When I come out for lunch, if I want to take a walk, I see it. In the morning, I see it. When I leave to go home, I see it. Different people sleeping on the bricks of the sidewalk in different parts of the street. And sometimes, of course, because they sleep in the street, it smells. And it's a very strong smell because they're sleeping in the street. They've been out there a long time. And so I thought to myself, man, if I could just help them, I wish I can do something for them. And my first thought, the first thought you think when you see somebody that's homeless, right? You want to make sure they have food to eat, right? You want to make sure they have something to eat, right? You don't want them to starve, and you would like to help them with some shelter. But when you look at them, you can tell they're not starving. They're somehow getting food. I don't know where. There's shelters. There's different places throughout the city that will give them food. There's actually a place right across from my job that gives people, the homeless, they can get muffins and food from there. And in fact, they take in homeless people, as many as they can. And the homeless people actually make the muffins. They make muffins and they sell them to people. And sometimes they can give them to people that don't have have anything to eat. So they get food to eat. And even sometimes temporarily they can get shelter because there's a law in Washington, D.C. that nobody can sleep on the street when the temperature falls below a certain temperature because I remember a couple of years ago, it got really cold, like 0, and there were people sleeping in 0. They were wrapped up in old carpeting or rugs, and sometimes in cardboard, and they were freezing. Some of them would freeze to death on the street. They would try to find crevices and corners to sleep in because you have to be inside the shelters by a certain time. If you're not in there by a certain time, they won't let you in. And of course, also the shelters are overflowing with people. They have in Washington D.C. they have set up old housing projects, even sometimes as shelters, and they're filled. They're filled with women and children a lot, and men. So sometimes the men especially have to stay outside on the street. And so I thought, man, I want to help them, but I don't know what to do. I mean, they have food, they have shelter. What can I do for them? And one day, this happened this week also. I was on the subway. I leave for work at 4:45, 4:45 in the morning. I leave to go to work. And generally, I get into the city of Washington, generally by 5:45, 5:45. And I was on the train this particular morning. I think it was Wednesday morning. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, maybe a little before that. And I saw the train doors were getting ready to shut. In Washington, D.C., the trains are different from the subway trains in New York City. In New York City, if somebody puts their hand in the subway train, the door will open back. So if you're running, they don't like you to do that because it burns out the door. But if you put your hand in the door, it will pop back open in New York. But not in Washington, D.C. Once the door is closed, if your hand is in it or anything is in it, it closes. Okay, and it's pretty strong. Like it'll push you, it'll close. So this particular morning, a young black man had run to the train to catch it, and he was trying to hold the door open, apparently for a friend of his. And another young black man came in behind him. Both of these young black men appeared to be in their 20s, but they looked much older. You can see by whatever they were doing or however they were living, it was telling on them. And one of them walked up to me. He walked right up to me. He walked half a train length to come to me. I don't know what he saw. I had my earphones on. I was listening to music. And I didn't have to hear what he was asking me. I knew what he was asking me. He was asking me for money. And I'll be honest, I didn't do the right thing. I waved him off. I just waved him like, get lost. That's my first reaction. And he got mad. He got mad at me and he looked at me and he kind of cursed and he said, don't you wave your hand like that at me. And he walked past me and sat a few ways behind me. My first reaction, being it was early in the morning, I got mad. I got mad that he got mad. And I looked behind him and he can see the look in my eye. And he said, yes, I said it. I turned my head from him to try to calm myself down because I started getting heated. And I thought about it for a minute and then I felt bad. I felt bad that I did that to him. I felt bad that I waved him off like that. He was homeless and he might have been using heroin. I don't know. I really don't know. I know he was asking me for money and he looked bad and he looked like he slept on the street. And as I was thinking that, he got up from where he sat and he walked past me again. And he came to a white man that was in front of me and he tapped him on the shoulder to ask him for money. The white man didn't even acknowledge him, didn't look up at all, just kept his head down. And then I stood up, remembering that I had $1. I only had $1 in my pocket. I didn't have any cash on me. They always ask for change. I didn't have any change on me either. I just had $1 in my pocket. And I stood up and he saw me stand up. And he must have thought I was going to do something bad because he looked at me and I could tell he didn't know what I was going to do. And I said, come here. I said, brother, come here. And he walked toward me. Again, he wasn't sure what I was going to do. But he didn't care. He was so desperate. He was just coming. And I reached in my pocket and I gave him $1. The $1 that I had, I gave it to him. I wished I had a $5 to give him. I gave him $1 though. And he looked at me and he was thankful. He said, brother, I just thank you. Thank you so much. And I said, it's all right. I said, you were right. And he looked back at me like strange, and he walked away. And then the door stop came for my stop. My stop came. And I got ready to get off the train. And he came back to me and he said, brother, I want to thank you again for helping me out. And I turned to him. I said, no, you were right. I was wrong. And I walked off the train. You see, brothers and sisters, I learned something that morning. I learned a lot. In that, the whole ride must have lasted, the whole situation lasted less than 2 minutes, maybe 3 at the top. He came on the train to when I got off the train. It was only 2 stops. It lasted maybe 3 minutes at the most. But I learned a lot in that little 3-minute time. It was the biggest sermon, the biggest school that I could have went to. And as you know, I've been to school, I've got degrees, but this was a big lesson that I learned. I learned it doesn't matter what they do with the money. You know why? Because, brothers and sisters, let me tell you, it's not their stomach that hurt. It's not food. It's not shelter. Their mind. Their mind has been beaten up and destroyed. That's what it is. And I wish I can do something. Because the mind, brothers and sisters, when your mind is destroyed, they can give you food, they can give you shelter, and you still be messed up. And the young brother's mind was gone. And all I can do was give him $1. And I felt bad. I felt bad that I couldn't do more for him. That's why when he came back and he thanked me again for the $1, I said to him, no, you were right. I was wrong. Because, brothers and sisters, I am blessed. I have a job. I have a house. I get paid. I have food. But more important than that, the Most High has given me his spirit, and my mind is clear. You see, brothers and sisters, I realized at that moment, not only his mind was messed up, not just him, and not just because he was black. There's a number being done on everybody's mind. The devil is doing a number on everybody's mind. And in one way or another, he is messing up everybody's mind. Either he's using racism or pride or greed or lust for power or sex. He's using these things, and he's bringing it through music. He's bringing it through politics. He's bringing it through social engineering. And I say social engineering because, brothers and sisters, it's not hard to figure out. Really, it's not. You take expensive drugs like heroin, because there's a heroin epidemic in Washington, D.C. right now. And it's not just Washington, D.C. I've read that they say there's a heroin epidemic coming into many cities. New York, big cities. Now heroin is coming back. Let me tell you something. Heroin is not cheap. It's not a cheap drug. It's expensive. And how is it that the poorest neighborhoods, people can get heroin in the poorest neighborhoods? How is that? They can't afford the ships that bring over blocks of heroin or planes that carry them. They can't afford that. So how is it that heroin gets in these places so easily? Dudes hooked on it. And see what happens, you get discouraged. You can't get a job. You weren't properly educated. Your father was taken out of your home because you know, your mother wouldn't be able, she couldn't get a job to support y'all, and your mother can't get the welfare unless she's by herself. So he has to leave. He's discouraged, right? And so now you got single parent homes. They can't afford to live anywhere. So they live in the worst, cheapest place that's filled with slumlords. Do you know Donald Trump's father was a big time slumlord in New York City? That's where he got his money from. Slumlords. You know what a slumlord is? They have a building. They don't take care of the building. They don't care what you do to the building, as long as it has a roof and it's got a door and you can live in it and you can pay, or somebody can pay for you, whether it be government, Section 8, or whoever, and they just collect. They collect and collect and collect. And they don't do anything to fix the building until it rots. And literally, you can have people defecating in the building, peeing in it, dying in it. It doesn't matter. Slumlords. And that's where some people have to grow up. All right? You try growing up in a place like that. And then you go to a half behind school where they're not teaching you anything. And your books are old, like 30 years old. And they teaching you half lies on top of that. You try to go to a place and grow in a place like that. And then you step out your door and there's drugs available. Expensive drugs like heroin. You make the mistake of trying it. And it helps you to escape your depression of where you really are. And now you're really messed up. So it's socially engineered. Powerful forces bring those drugs to those places to put people in that position. Whenever a cop is killed in a big city and people rejoice over it, some people get upset. Why are you rejoicing over the killing of a cop? Well, you don't know what the cops do in those neighborhoods. You don't know what they're like. And you don't know how those people were raised and how they were set up like that. You have no idea. And brothers and sisters, I want to tell you that the message of today, as I learned, first of all, don't judge people in that situation. Judge people in a lower rung than you, don't judge them. It ain't because they lazy. It ain't because they don't, they stupid. It ain't because it's because they've been set up like that. And there, but for the grace of the Most High, go you and I. You could have been born anywhere. You could have been born to a crap mother. Nobody chooses who their parents are. When you're born, you're not choosing where you want to live. You're born there. You don't know any better. And you could have been born anywhere. Think about that. You could have been born any color. So brothers and sisters, don't judge people that are in unfortunate situations regardless of how you think they got there. Don't judge them. It's not for you to do. And understand, you see, brothers and sisters, the Bible tells us that we should approach the throne of grace. Hebrews chapter 4 tells us that we may find grace and mercy. It's a mercy seat. When we come to the Most High and we come in the name of the Messiah, he said, approach the mercy seat. Why? Because there you obtain mercy. We are looking for mercy from the Most High. Mercy is something you don't deserve. It's a gift of grace given to you. Should not people that have received mercy know very well how to show mercy? Should not people that have received mercy understand somebody that's in a situation that they may or may not have caused on themselves? But the most important thing, aside from that I learned from that situation, the extreme importance of having a right mind. The extreme importance of having a right mind, brothers and sisters. I can't express to you enough. See, because the people that actually make it out of those situations and survive the drugs and survive the planned, arranged neighborhoods, that survive the planned poverty, it's all planned, brothers and sisters. All this stuff is arranged. It doesn't happen by accident. You think foreclosures and economic crashes just happened by accident? That's planned, man. All that stuff is arranged. It's a setup. And the only way we can arise above it is if our minds are clear and sharp. And if our minds are clear and sharp, the best way to get a clear and sharp mind, Most High. The Spirit of the Most High is the only way to ensure that your mind will be clear and sharp. Because you know why? The Most High sees above arranged politics, all of these arranged events. He's above all of that. And so if your mind is given over to the Most High and His Word, if you are seeking His Spirit, I'm not talking about through no church, because that's a detriment. I'm talking about you and Him alone. I'm talking about you calling out to Him and asking Him for His Spirit on you to deal with you, with your mind. I'm not talking about somebody else, you and me. And to teach you His ways, His will, to guide you and direct your steps. I was so happy when the boy came walking by me again and gave me a second opportunity to do the right thing when I had messed up and did the wrong thing initially. And I praised the Most High. When I got off the train, I felt so bad, and I praised the Most High that I was able to at least give the brother $1. I felt so bad that I messed up like that, because I did not represent the mercy and grace that was given to me. And that brother was in such an unfortunate situation. I don't know where he comes from. I don't know where he was born. I know he was in Washington, D.C., homeless and without money. That's what I know. I know his teeth were rotting out. I can see that. And I know he was a young dude, but he was looking older. I can see that. And the scriptures tell us, Isaiah chapter 26 from verses 1 down to verse 4. Isaiah 26 from verse 1 to 4. The scripture says, in that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. Salvation will Yahweh appoint for walls and bulwarks. Open ye the gates, that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee. Trust ye in Yahweh forever, for in Yahweh is everlasting strength. Oh yes, Yahweh. This is the thing. It says in Judah, it's talking about Jerusalem, and it said, open the gates to the righteous nation who keepeth the truth. This is the thing, brother and sister. Jerusalem is for the tribe of Judah, right? It's the tribe of Judah's spot, and that's where they are. And all Israel comes to Jerusalem, right? But the gates are open to the righteous nation. The word nation here is the word for Gentile, the righteous Gentile. So in other words, he's opening the gates of salvation, not just for Judah and Israel, although it is for them, but also for the Gentiles, which keep the truth. To keep our minds stayed on the truth, on the Most High, on His Word. We know we need the Messiah, Yahweh. We can't approach the Most High without Messiah, so we need Him. We need His perfect righteousness, which is His faith, that we might be obedient. These things, if your mind is messed up, if you focus on these things and don't let these other things come into your mind. See, brothers and sisters, we too easily give in to doubt. We too easily do it. When you know better, You have the word that teaches you better. The promises of the word teach you better. You know better. Okay? So when they say open the gates that the righteous nation which keepeth the truth may enter in, he said, at first it starts out, in that day shall this song be sung in the land of Judah, right? In the land of Judah. So in the land of Judah is where the children of Israel are, okay? So that's their nation, that's their place. But he's also given opportunity to the righteous nation which keeps the truth. The word nation is for the Gentiles. So the righteous ones among the Gentiles are called those which keep the truth. Those which keep the truth. And if your mind is on Yahweh, the Most High, you're going to keep the truth. His mind, he will keep you from losing your mind. Because many people lose their mind. Through greed, through pride, through fear, through arrogance, through willful ignorance, people lose their mind. And it's happening every day, brothers and sisters. Because people are being taught to put their trust in things that are no profit. They can't get you eternal life. They can't help you long term. Brothers and sisters, the Bible tells us, First Peter, I think it's First Peter chapter 1. First Peter chapter 1. Notice what it says, First Peter chapter 1. First Peter chapter 1. Yep. First Peter chapter 1. I'm going to read First Peter 1. I'm going to read from verse, let's see, I'm going to read from verse, I'm going to read from verse 10 down to verse 15. Actually, from 10 to 16. From 10 to 16, 1 Peter chapter 1, we're focusing on verse 13. Notice what the scripture says. Of which salvation prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesy of the grace that should come unto you, searching what manner of time the spirit of Messiah which was in them did signify, when it testified beforehand of the sufferings of Messiah and the glory that shall follow. Unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Ghost sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind. Be sober and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Yashiyah. As obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lust in your ignorance, but as he which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation. Be ye holy, for I am holy. Holy means set apart for the Most High Spirit. And brothers and sisters, that's the object. For our mind to be set apart for the Most High. Brothers and sisters, we're living in times in the earth right now when the stress level of people is so high. You see, there's a lot of disease, in the developed nation. I ain't talking about third world countries. I'm talking about the developed nation, but even in third world countries, of course. But the stress level on people day to day is so high that all types of diseases are coming as a result of it. Because it's interesting, when the United States was first founded as a nation, okay, it was mostly a farm economy. Mostly, for I'd say at least 100 years, probably more than that, it was a farm economy. So when it was first founded, when people first came on these shores in the 17th century, 1604, and in that time, they started landing on the shores before they start killing off the Indians and whatnot. But it was a farm economy. Everything was farm. Probably 200 years. I'm talking about from the 1600s. And so most of the people of this land, when it was the colonies, were farmers. Okay, they grew what they ate, and they sold and they sold and traded based on what they grew. Okay, but in today's society in the United States, it's not a farm economy anymore. We do farming, but the farming we do, they use less land and produce more food on it. They use a lot of land for other things. Mostly the jobs that are jobs today, they're not even a lot of times, you know, manufacturing jobs. You have some manufacturing still going on, of course, in the United States. You know, cars are being produced and certain things, but mostly it's not manufacturing. It's definitely not a farm economy. Okay, most people are doing something with their mind. You know, they're doing something. Unless they're working in the service industry. Okay, so people do that, but it's not a farm economy, and so there's a lot of stress on people's minds. A lot of stress on their mind because the way the thing is working, the way Rome is setting up our economy, there's going to be no more middle class. That is going away. Don't listen to the lies these politicians are telling you. They're constantly working to destroy and shrink the middle class. Okay? Okay? So that's going away. And in the Rome economy, just like it was in the Europe during the Middle Ages, there are landlords, people that own stuff, and people that are more wealthy, and then there's the poor. That's it. Okay? And that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. But every crash that comes, and there's going to be more crashes. I don't have to be a prophet to say that. There's going to be another boom and bust. Bigger boom, bigger bust than the last one. All right? That's coming. Just get ready for that. You can know it's coming. So it doesn't matter who the president is. That's coming. And so, brothers and sisters, they're getting rid of the middle class with each boom and bust cycle. They're expanding the 1% to become wealthier, and they're expanding the poor class to become poorer, and they're shrinking the middle class. Okay, that's been happening for at least 30 years since Ronald Reagan. Really, since Ronald Reagan came, it's really been really aggressively happening. Okay, it doesn't matter who the president is. It's coming, whether Democrat or Republican, it's coming that way. So there's a lot of stress on people because their salaries are not keeping pace with the price of stuff. 1965, 1966, I was about 5 years old. And my parents had our house built for $16,000, 1966 on Long Island. $16,000. That was our house. It was a 5-bedroom house, had 2 full baths, and had a 1-car garage. Not that much property with it, but it was a yard, and it was $16,000. And that was a typical house in our neighborhood. It was all black neighborhood. That was a typical house, and that was a house built from ground up. It wasn't like, you know, solid or anything. It was cheaply done, but it was our house. That same house, I went to Long Island earlier this year. That same house, $450,000. 16,000 in 1966. Right now is $450,000. At the time my parents bought that house, they probably earned together. They both worked, and they probably earned together about $16,000 a year. So they earned, their salaries together were about the amount that the house cost. Maybe they earned a little less. Maybe it was 12, but they earned close to what the house cost. Okay. Today, you ain't gonna find 2 people making anywhere, you know, in the middle class making 450 grand, even in New York. I mean, you know, so the cost of the housing has grown much faster than the salaries of the middle class that are earning it. So that there's a lot more things to pay in terms of housing and a lot less dollars to pay it with. Okay, that's the typical situation in the United States. And so there's a lot of stress on people. And then most people are not farmers anymore. See, a farmer generally owned his land, and he farmed his land, and he got off his land what he needed to survive, right? It's his land. But people now, we're all working for corporations. Corporations even own the farms. And so that we're working for corporations now. And corporations, you know, when you work for a corporation, you're a slave. They own you. And you're thankful to work for that corporation, because if you don't have that job, you're not going to be able to live. pay anything, right? You see, so it's a slave economy that we're in, and you know, people, you know, it doesn't matter if you black or white. See, white people do get a little bit of advantage because of their color, their skin, but the people that are actually doing this, the people that are Rome controlled, these are very powerful white people at the top, and there's not a lot of them. There's a handful of them. They're elite. They really believe they're much smarter than the rest of us, and that they deserve to be able to treat us as slaves. That's just how it is. Okay, very powerful white people. They created the Federal Reserve Bank. They create the economic system, the political system that we're in. They really, you know, and what happens is the unfortunate thing is the sad thing is in the United States of America, most of the white people, because they're the majority, they fall for this garbage. That's why that's one of the reasons it happens so easily. If the white people in the United States didn't fall for it, you know, it probably wouldn't happen. But what's going on is they looking at these people and they say, oh, they look like me and they talk my language. They must, you know, they understand where I come from, and they believe them. And they're getting screwed by the same people that are talking to them. See, all these white men that were presidents before, they screwing you. You just think they're helping you. They're not helping you. They're helping the people that put them in office, and it's not you and me. It's that tight top 1% that bought them and put them in office. These corporations own them. Okay, and then Barack Obama, the same corporation, they put him out there. And this is the thing about Barack Obama, most people don't pick it up. Okay, in the United States, most white people look at a black man. If you just put a picture of a black man, one of the things that a white person might say is, well, he's probably angry. He's probably angry. Because they have this thing. Sometimes it's because I feel like they really feel guilty. Maybe they think because they know everything that's been done to black men in the United States that the black man is going to rise up and there's going to be some race war. I mean, Charles Manson, he had them young people hack people to death trying to incite what he thought was a race war that was coming. And many people, white people, are teaching that there's going to be a race war. First off, white people invented race. That didn't exist. The Bible never talks about anybody's race. White people invented that. They put it on job applications. White people say, what race are you? Black, Indian? They put the race down there. So the race war, that's in their minds from their invention. It ain't humming. It ain't coming. There's no race war coming. All right? So you look at a black man and they think he's angry. Right? And sometimes if he's a big black man, boy, they're really scared. Because they see him, they look at him, oh, he's scary. Right? But they do. So Barack Obama, for the powers that be to put a black man in office, and he don't, you know, they set him up and put him in there. All right. But he couldn't be a big black man. If you notice, he's a skinny guy. He's not threatening by his look, right? He's not threatening. He's very skinny. Secondly, he could never get angry in public because then the whole scary black man thing would come out and he wouldn't go anywhere. So you never see Barack Obama raise his voice and start yelling at somebody or breaking on somebody in public. He's not going to do that. Versus you've seen white men do it, but a black man can't do that. They had to have him set up that way. He had to be supremely educated. Like he couldn't come from a black school like Norfolk State or Howard. No. Barack Obama had to come from Ivy League. His wife had to come from Ivy League. So his wife was from Princeton and went to Harvard Law. Barack Obama was from Columbia. Well, first he went to the Catholic school, Occidental University in California. He transferred to an Ivy League school, which is rare to be able to transfer into an Ivy League school from a non-Ivy League school, which tells you the setup. He went into Columbia University, and then he went to Harvard Law. So he had to have this type of impeccable background for him to be accepted by the public. They set all that up so that we would relax and they can continue to do their dirt behind the scenes. It's not going to stop, brothers and sisters. It's going to continue. All right? It's going to continue. So while we are smart, now we're going to get a white woman. It doesn't matter. You had Trump. He's a con artist, and Hillary Clinton's a con artist. Doesn't matter which one you pick. It's going to be the same thing. People are going to trust them, and they're going to get screwed. That's why the Most High teaches us, as long as the laws of the land don't conflict with our obedience to the covenant, okay, we go ahead and we obey the laws of the land. The Bible says we should obey the powers that be, as long as they don't cross with the law of the Most High. Because when they do, we are disobedient. Just like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. They were obedient to the laws of Babylon until the day Nebuchadnezzar said, bow to this statue. That was the end of that. No. Okay, that was the end of that. So we obey the laws of the land as long as they're in accordance with the Most High. They don't go against the laws of the Most High, which we can see slowly but surely is crossing that path. It's crossing that path. A lot of people are living together and not getting married. You know why? Because if you get married in the United States, you put yourself in a lot of trouble sometimes, especially if you're a black man. Put yourself in a lot of trouble. So a lot of brothers not marrying their sisters. They just living with it. They obedient. They love them. But they're not going to get married according to this land's laws, because you put your name on that dotted line and they own you. It's not your wife that owns you. The government owns you. So that's the truth about it. We could talk about marriage another time, but that's just an example. It's getting closer and closer to crossing lines where people can't be obedient to the Most High's word and be obedient to the government at the same time. So brothers and sisters, we are taught in the word to keep our mind stayed on the truth of the Most High. You see, every time somebody goes to one of these churches, they're getting a watered down truth, their mind, and every time you accept watered down truth, you weaken your mind. Truth, the Messiah taught us, will set us free from sin. Truth does it. And the truth he's talking about are the truths that the word talks about, which he himself, Messiah, is the truth. So you can follow his ways, his examples, his words is truth. Everything that comes from the mouth of his Father is truth. Everything from Yah's mouth is truth. His Bible, his word is truth. His spirit is truth. The covenant is the truth. And all of these agree. The covenant, the law of the Most High, statutes and commandments, the Messiah, the Spirit, and the Most High himself, they all agree. They all agree. They don't disagree. They 100% agree with each other. And so anything that doesn't agree with them is not truth. And we can study it, look it up. It's there. Anything doesn't agree with them is not truth. For us, for the Hebrews, for the Israelites. Now somebody else from some other way might decide, a Hindu or whatever you want to be, they can decide what they want to be truth. But I'm talking about us from the word, the nation. That's what truth is. Okay? That's what truth is. And I'm not talking about the nation of Islam. I'm talking about the Israelite nation. COI, tribe of Israel. Children of Israel. Tribe of Judah mostly, but it could be Gad or whoever, depending on where they are. But I know those of us come on them slave ships, whose family came on them slave ships from West Africa. That's tribe of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi, or Levi. And they were all mixed together. And anybody that's grafted in, you can't, don't mess, the time is too short. Don't mess around with half truths, brothers and sisters. Measure everything against what we know to be truth. Measure up, don't feel sorry for it, get rid of it. Say, oh, such a nice man. Oh, but he likes to preach this lot, get rid of it. Don't mess around with half truths, because it'll weaken your mind. And that's the game today. It's over the mind. The stress level is high on people today. The Most High knows that. He knows you're in a pressure cooker. And I'm in a pressure cooker. He knows that. But brothers and sisters, first off, there's always somebody in a worse pressure cooker than you and me. That's what he gives us the power of his spirit for, to overcome the pressure cooker. To overcome the pressure cooker. He put the worst pressure cooker of all was on the Messiah. Messiah overcame. And he said, I'm going to allow you to sit with me on my throne, because you're going to overcome even as I overcame. So he has the power to cause us to swim through the pressure cooker. But we have to trust him. Our mind has to be on him. There's a lot of stress. Don't let stress and fear and worry take away the spirit of the Most High from you. Remember, man deals with money talking about dead president dollars. But that is not the money of heaven, is it? What is the dollar of heaven? What does heaven's dollar look like? Can you tell me? What is the currency that heaven trades in? Talk to me. We talked about this. What is the currency that heaven trades in? We trade in dollars and euros mostly, right? What does heaven trade in? Heaven trades in faith. You know, that woman came in here earlier today talking about, please pay that we get the funds that we need. She didn't know what she really needed. It's not funds. She needs faith. If she's supposed to be in a ministry, it's about faith. That's the currency of heaven. It's faith in the Most High and in His truth and in His Spirit. He, I don't know, I can't tell which one it was, but I know they're doing the wrong thing looking for money. It's faith they need. It's faith. So, brothers and sisters, the message for today, don't judge people that are more unfortunate than you, but try to understand where they're coming from. That's the first thing. Number two, keep your mind in the truth. Anything you're convicted that's true by the Spirit of the Most High and His Word, stay with that. Don't compromise that, because it can mess you up. We're in a stressful situation now, and it's going to get worse. The pressure cooker is going to get higher, and we got to learn to trust the Most High in it all, regardless of what it looks like. Let's have a word of prayer.